Well, hello there. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning. I have been up on purpose because I've been in great meditation and wanted to share with you what Abba was talking to me about, because I think it's quite necessary for times that we're in right now. We are really, really headed towards some really heavy stuff. So don't know if this is going to be a Just for the Day or Murphy's Midwife Monday. But I wanted to make sure that this got out to you because it was definitely heavy in my spirit when I began to meditate on all the things that we as leaders and so many of us who are birthing others out and parenting or mentoring and, just working on where God is telling us to go and for us to do for such a time as this. So I want to talk to you about what I got there in the heading. I don't know if I got it all there or not because I haven't even typed it in, but he just told me to talk to you all briefly about the costly smoke screens, those things that are very deceptive, those particular structures, those relationships, and those little foxes' feet. We need to watch for the sounds of those. A lot of people are doing a lot of things that's going to cost them a whole lot up the road. And I thank God that as a leader, I've always told people I'm not 100 on anything. I believe that over these 66 years, coming this September, I believe that God has given me great wisdom to know that we have not arrived on anything, but we also need to recognize what God has poured great wisdom through grace. And so I believe that measure I wanted to share just some of the things that he has shared with me in regards to this message that I'm talking to you about right now. Just for today, I want you to think about where are you really in this costly smoke screen of a relationship, this costly structure. When you think about the problem with structure, and when you think about even the Song of Solomon, as I began to meditate on this, I was reading in the Song of Solomon how it's important for us to realize when we're leaders that, we need to be candid. At the same time, we need to know that we can't just be so, like people say, I'm so up into heaven because I don't do a lot of connecting and going out, fellowship with a lot of people. But that does not mean that I have separated myself from my brethren. But what I will not do is waste a lot of time when I can see very clearly that a lot of people have a lot of smoke screen relationships. They have a lot of fake structures that waste a lot of time, and a lot of that, too, is because they have not made a clear distinction on lemons versus apples. I don't waste a lot of time with people who I know just want to make lemonade and they're not trying to grow up a tree of apples for kingdom building. And so I wanted to share a little bit about the sound of little foxes as well. And so as Solomon is talking here, we know that he's talking about the love and all that. It illustrates, the pattern of loving a wife and all of that. But he also shares how leaders need to look at, really, keenly that we need to know that relationship is very important. We don't care, how much we get, but we need to make sure that we as leaders need to know our sphere of influence. Some of us have connected with people who don't have any intentions but to be a sapsucker, don't have any intentions but to try to derail you and slow you up. So I want to talk to you primarily about this costly smokescreen type of mentality, and also to talk to you about the problem with your structure. Now, one of the things about structure and delay, as Solomon is talking here, I really like what he talked about in this chapter as it relates to talking about the little foxes. I look at Solomon chapter 2, verse 15. The Song of Solomon, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I want to talk about the problem with the structure. See, probably what you may be facing in the problem with your structure is the fact that many of the things that you're dealing with have smoke screen. They're very deceptive, and many of the things that are very deceptive, they have caused you to feel that you don't need anybody or you don't need to do anything but keep doing that fake type of arrival that you have become so intellectually skilled in your religion or whatever you're trying to teach. This is one of the things that I stay bent and broken about, and that is to make sure that I have someone who can sharpen me, who can tell me something, because we're all vulnerable to a lot of things. Many of us don't want to show these places that we know we need help. We don't have to, air all our dirty laundry and tell all our personal business to become very vulnerable. But what we can do is get with someone who is mature and who is wise, to be able to help us to create a better structure where God is trying to take us. Now, one of the things I wanted to share about this message is that we're in trouble today, and many of us are in trouble because we don't want to look at the fact that whether we can believe that we need any discipline or not, or whether we need anybody to tell us anything. But see, these little foxes, these little smoke screens is what's messing us up, because we can't hear the sound of the feet of the foxes. We don't listen when God is trying to talk to us and show us what these deceptive voices and people are trying to do. And so I wanted to share about the problem of your structure. I want you to think about that just for the day. I want you to think about, as I'm meditating here today for myself, on some of the sounds that I've been hearing, on some of the smoke screen type of structures and behaviors that people are struggling with, that they don't want to get help about. They just want to try to figure out how they can do it in their own strength, and believe that God is talking to them, and it's their own flesh or their own behavior of what they're going through. And so I wanted to share that with you really, really quick, so you can think about the problem with your structure, the problem that it appears that when we are trying to, grow up something or make something happen, but we're not getting the fullness of, we're only getting smoke screen within ourselves. And a lot of that is our own little ego, okay, our own little pride that we don't want to swallow, because we're trying to get something done the way we think and the time that we think. So if we're going to beat the old man up, that's what I'm trying to say, we beat the flesh out, it's going to take us to make sure that we organize it, structure it, to make sure that the flesh don't run us. Jesus run us, okay? And the only thing that we can recognize when we get wisdom, this means we're going to constantly listen to those people or those situations God put us in for us to come back and look and see, did I do what God said, or did I really, really understand what God was saying through the man or the woman of God that maybe we say that is our midwife or our mentor or whomever, or counselor, whatever you want to call them. But we are consistently becoming more wiser when we become more accountable. That's what I wanted to share. We need to have accountable relationships. We need to have these relationships that we can have a plan, committed responsibility, that we can structure what God is telling us to do. And our accountability means that we need to have some checkups from the neck up to make sure that these priorities and these consistencies that we say that we're doing, that we're going to make sure that we are accountable to one another. And the best way you can do that is start picking someone. Come on, say it out to me. I'm going to pick someone that I know that God has chosen for me to help me structure where he is taking me, so that I won't have these smoke screen ideas and these smoke screen windows and doors that I'm going through or hopping through that God has not even ordained for me to do. I know I'm talking to you. You need to begin right now to tell somebody who you may know that God has put to your hand, or that you know that God is trying to get you to become more structured, to become more aware. So you need to sit down and begin to plan right now. Come on and see it. I'm going to sit down and plan. We're in the hour of planning and preparing and positioning ourselves. I'm going to sit down and begin planning right now, just for today. I'm going to get my accountability checkup right now, because I am tired of the smoke screens. Come on and say it. I'm sick of the smoke screens. I'm sick of the little foxes that I know I can hear, and not only hear, you are seeing the foxes speak, and you're letting the foxes come right on in and destroy everything that God has planned for you, because you don't want to be accountable. Let me slow it down. Okay. So every week you need to get with someone that you know that you can talk to help you to be more accountable. But many of us don't want to do that because we don't want nobody to tell us nothing, because we think we already got it and God has spoken to us. But actually we don't recognize God's voice because we're so self-centered in what we want right now. And so accountability is going to require hard work. It's going to require commitment. It's going to require a lot of patience. It's going to pay off, though it's worth the price for that, to pay off, to be accountable to someone or to talk to someone, because accountability goes far beyond counseling. It goes far beyond fellowship. It requires answering questions. It requires sometimes questions that's going to be hard, sometimes things that you don't want to share, that you think you're too vulnerable about. But this commitment, this thing that God is saying, I've chosen for you this person, this time in your life, because time is short now. Time is grace. I've said that over and over again. Our accountability checkup is going to be necessary. So begin now to check and see, how much are you willing to pay? Come on and say it. how much am I willing to continue to pay? Because you're probably paying already, unless I wouldn't be sending this message out now. How much are you willing to continue to pay, continue to try to build up things and make things happen and setting up and spending money, and nothing is coming to anything? And the reason why it comes to nothing is because you refuse to take accountability where God has allowed you the opportunity to get with the person or get with someone to help you to make sure that you don't keep going around these smoke screens, looking at these false deceptive structures, that many of the relationships that are false, many of them are smoke screen relationships, many of them are sap-sucking relationships that are not going to do anything but take from you, and you can't understand why you can't get ahead. So look at what you are willing to pay for structure. What are you willing to pay for accountability? And then when you do that, you'll realize then that you have destroyed the smoke screen. You have destroyed the structures that was built up by you and not by God. And then God will let you see those little foxes. As Song of Solomon says here in 2:15, catch us the foxes. Yeah, we need to catch them right now, and we need to pull them down, and we need to beat the flesh, that the flesh cannot have any rule over. Just for today, I just want you to think about it just for today. I want you to look at, are you willing to catch the little foxes? Are you willing to listen to the little foxes speak? These little foxes that spoil the vine. For our vines have tender grapes. Yes, you have tender grapes. You have great knowledge and wisdom that God wants to use without the smoke screen, okay, without these fragmented structures. That's what he wants you to do. And so just for today, I want you to think about the little foxes. Yes, they are. They're the ones that ruin our organization, our structures. They're the ones that get a bad attitude. They're the ones, these little foxes are the ones that bring in the ones that look like they got it going on and ain't nothing but smoke screen. They're the ones that gives you the impatience. They're the ones that make you spend all the money and get all the ideas and look like you got all these ego ideas that you're finally doing, and for some reason it doesn't do anything. And the reason it doesn't, because it's in the wrong structure. It's in the wrong relationship. The flesh is not dead. And so we as leaders, we got to learn how to listen for the sounds of the little foxes speak. Okay? Just for today, repeat after me. I am going to listen for the little foxes speak. And I am going to watch and pray about the smoke screen relationships and the false structures that I have built, because Daddy God ain't built none of it, because he's only going to pay for what he actually orders, okay? So remember, it's better to build a fence at the top of the cliff than a hospital at the bottom. Say like that. Just for